Hello everyone, welcome to today's video. In today's video's news analysis, we are going to discuss some of the important news for the day from some important newspapers which are having all the information related to economy and financial news. So these news are brought to you by the Economy Hut under one initiative of Economy Daily, right? So under Economy Daily heads, we will discuss all the important news of the day for all the important newspapers and some other issues, right? So let us discuss what all news are there in today's newspaper, right? So these 7 to 8 news we are going to discuss in today's discussion. So let us see one by one what all these news are exactly related to, right? So yes, let us start. So the first news is related to the LIC IPO. So LIC is one of the largest insurance company in India. So this company is coming up with their own IPO, and each company expect that their IPO should be fully listed, and they should not have any backlashes or the issues when they are issuing the IPO, right? Because recently some tech companies issued their IPO and they were having huge losses after their IPO. So that's why this company is expecting to have some relaxations from government of India, because there were some new recent laws which sorry norms which were implemented by the SEBI, which controls the like stock market in India. So that's why the LIC is expecting some relaxation from this. LIC is expecting some relaxations from these norms, so that they won't have any issues while they are listing their IPOs in the on the Indian stock exchange, right? So before that, we'll discuss what exactly are these new norms and why they have been introduced in the Indian stock exchange, right? So prior to these new norms, there were 30 days of lock-in periods for any anchor investors who are investing in a company, right? So that 30 days of lock-in period has been increased to 90 days now. Then after that, there was a cap of around only 1 crore for the financing, right? So that cap has been now eliminated, right? Then only a third of HNI category can be reserved for, right, for investing in 2 to 10 lakhs. And then the other two norms were like minimum cap between upper and lower limit has been decided, and the cap on how much IBOs can raise for general purpose has been also decided in this new norms, right? So like all these norms are made to have a retail investors view for the stock exchange, right? But LIC is expecting like they won't have any backlash or some issues while listing their IPO. So that's why they want some relaxations from these new norms for in the when they are issuing their stocks on the Indian stock exchange, right? So that's why this is just a proposal they have introduced. They have proposed to the regulatory body. Now that is like the final decision will be taken by the regulatory bodies, like to have these relaxations to LIC or not, and then LIC will issue their IPOs, right? And the main reason why they are asking for all these relaxation is there are some big players who are investing in LIC, right? Like the BlackRock, then Abu Dhabi Investment Authority, and then GIC, then Canada's that CPPIB, then other banks and some big financial institutions are there. And apart from that, there are also some big mutual fund house like SBI Mutual Fund, and then Aditya Birla Sun Mutual Fund, and ICICI Prudential Mutual Fund. So these are a couple of big institutions who won't be allowed to have a systematic investment into the IPO. So that's why LIC wants some relaxations from the new norms which are introduced by the regulatory bodies, right? So this is all the news. So let us see next news. So in the next news, in recent Indian stock exchange or at some global level as well, there was a global crash in the stock exchange, right? So that crash has been mainly because of some reasons, like some IT companies were having their losses, they have shown their losses or some like a less number of profit percentage so compared to their last quarter. So that's why there was some loss. And apart from, there were some global issues as well, like there was a Russian and Ukraine war also going on. Then and there is also a global like financial crisis in some countries like Sri Lanka, and also that's why the main reason for all this issue was like, and there was, and the US Fed also decreased, uh, sorry, also increase their rates. So that's why so that can be also a parallel reason for all these things in a way, right? So yes, that is the news. And this like stock exchange like decrease has been a momentum of the stock exchange, like sometimes because of some global issues these stocks values like tend to decrease. But on a longer term, like if the person or the institutions who are investing into stock exchange are the prudent peoples, then they won't be hampered by this short term losses, right? Then the next issue is regarding the RBI's new norms, no, regarding the NPFCs, right? So before that, we'll see exactly like what is the background of all these norms for the NPFCs, right? So RBI has come out with a scale-based regulation for NBFCs last year, right? So in the last October, they have come up with some scale-based regulations, and wherein it assured large NBFCs with the subject to greater scrutiny, right? And further, they have harmonized the income regulation and non-performance assets classification to the NBFCs, right? Which was seen another step in central bank's regulation to the NBFCs, right? And also apart from that, they have also introduced liquidity coverage ratio for the NBFCs, so that like all the differences which were already there in the working of NBFCs, sorry, NBFCs compared to the banks will be decreased, and all the works will be like on a parallel momentum between the NBFCs and banks. That's why RBI is doing all these reforms into the NBFCs working, right? Now, like if you are new to this term NBFC, then NBFCs are non-banking financial institutions, right? So NBFCs are non-banking financial institutions. So NBFCs are just like banks, but they are having some differences between them. Like some NBFCs are only deposit taking NBFCs, and some are allowed to have lend some other operations as well. So that's why to have the smooth function between the banks and the NBFCs for the retail person. So sorry, the common man. RBI is doing some reforms into the working of NBFCs, right? And to have that things in on next level, the RBI has introduced yes, as we have discussed, like narrowing the regulatory arbitrage between the banks and the shadow banks. RBI has come up with this NBFC reforms, right? And apart from that, earlier they have also introduced some scale-based regulatory framework for the sector. So that's why all the things has to be done in the harmonized manner. So that RBI is doing all the things, like all the things chronology into the system, right? And as we can see, already RBI has done some other reforms as well here, right? Then the next news is regarding the Air India, right? So Tata acquired Air India recently, right? So to have the smooth functioning and to increase the productivity of all the new staff within the company, Tata is offering the ESOPs to all the new employees within the company, right? So ESOPs are sort of percentage of shares, like 0.2%, 0.3%, 0.1%. So now these numbers might be like very little, but when we are segregating that numbers like 0.01% from a company who is having their 100% valuation, and if that 100% valuation is around 70 crores, so in that 70 crores valuation, this 0.01% percentage becomes a huge number, right? So like in that way, like Tata is offering ESOPs to all these new Air India employees so that they can have a better productivity, right? So by offering the ESOPs, all that peoples will have a view like they are being a part of a family or a working group in which they are having some stake, right? So like if a person is working in his own company, then they'll use their complete productivity for that organization, right? So in the same way, to have the like the great productivity by the employees, Tata is offering this ESOPs facility here. And before that, Tata has already done this ESOP experiment in Tata Motors in 2018, right? So that like they are able to see the product, the positive results out of that their work in that initiative, right? And as per the plan by the Tata, they are going to provide around 3% of Tata sorry, Air India's equity into the ESOPs program, right? And before that, there was a big rivalry of Tata is Indigo, right? So Indigo has already done that ESOP distribution thing in 2015, and all the employees who have been there employees for a long term, they were now millionaires once their when Air India was listed in on Indian stock exchange with their some share price, right? So the point is like, if a person is having some ESOPs in a great organization, so on a longer term they are going to have a bigger persons, or like persons who is having important role in that company's growth. So that's why in return, in a longer term, they'll get some like huge amount of profits from that organization, right? So this is the main purpose of issuing the ESOPs by any company, right? So then the next thing is Coinbase, which is Coinbase, which is a crypto platform. They are launching their own NFTs as well, right? So NFTs are non-fungible tokens, right? So so in a simple way, non-fungible tokens non-fungible tokens are like some things like the art or something, or anything which has been unique or identical in its way, right? So that is not available anywhere in the globe or in the internet or anywhere, right? So if that thing has been unique, so that should have a special price, right? So this on the same concept, like and that things has to be sold somewhere, right? So that things are so stored in this NFT marketplace, right? Now these things are sold digitally, right? And prior to this, Coinbase, who has launched their NFT marketplace, uh, FTX, who is also one other crypto platform, and apart with that, Binance, who is also one of the famous US crypto platform, has already launched their NFTs, right? Now, to like recently, Coinbase was incurring some losses in their in their profits, right? So that's why to like come back from that losses, they have initiated this like this new product, right? Now the company's latest attempt is to diversify its revenue and bring more predictability to its business, right? And this social NFT marketplace will allow users to trade like comments on image and similar on Instagram, right? And these NFTs are designed to sell ownership of digital art and possibly other items as well, right? As we have already discussed. Then the next news is about the about the 75 digital banks, right? So in a recent discussion by Indian Finance Minister Ms. Nirmala Sitharaman, so when she was there on Atlantic Council discussion, so she told to all the like delegates there, like 75 new digital banks and non-banking financial companies will be introduced in India in next couple of time, right? So like as the honorable finance minister has already told, so why these like digital banking units will be installed set up in India, and what exactly is the process and like reasons for having that digital banks in India, we will discuss. Now the main reason of having this digital bank is like the rate of disbursements through these digital banks very recently has been like quite like astonishing, right? So that's why the government of India is coming up with the digital bank, right? Like as we can see, these banks accounted for 75% and 10% of total assets in financial year 2020, right? So out of the total disbursement, if they are having the 75% in NBFC, so it makes a huge number, right? So that's why they are having some huge potential, right? So first of all, so for that we will see what exactly are retail banking units, right? So it's a present and future electronic banking services provided by licensed banks for the execution of financial banking other transactions, right? And in order to and it gives the orders and instruments through electronic devices, right? It's like the smartphone and all the devices which we use for all our daily operations, right? And all these operations are done with the help of website or mobile phones apps or something similar channels, right? And all these channels are given the authority by the central bank, right? So it's not like they are able to have their own digital bank without the license of all the all the important banks. So they need to have the license from the regulatory authority, and then only they can go with the plans, right? And the big question mark mentioned here is like they haven't mentioned about apart from the NBFC, the if the RRB if the RRB payment banks and local area banks will be included in this project or not. So it is going to be the thing which will be discussed in the future when the exact things were discussed, right? So the next news is regarding the IMF, who is going to help to Sri Lanka in their debt restructuring, right? So before restructuring the debt of any country, the country has to stabilize all their working operations, right? Because like once the loan restructuring is done, then they should have a systematic plan to stabilize all the things in the economy, right? So that's why before approving the loan, IMF is asking here for some restructuring plan to the Sri Lanka, right? So that is all the news about it, right? And like as uh, as said by this IMF managing director Cristalia Georgieva, right? IMF supported program should be designed to solve Sri Lanka's acute payment of balance of payments, right? So that's why and as mentioned by them, Sri Lanka's public debt was unsustainable, right? So that's why they need to have some systematic plan before they were able to receive the funds from the IMF, right? Now the next news is related to ED scope to probe under PMLA, right? So here PMLA is uh, Money Laundering Act, right? So under the Money Laundering Act, which is enforced by Enforcement Directorate, which we generally term as ED, right? So the rates of this ED to implement this PMLA Act has been increased 2.5 times in last couple of years, right? So that is all the news about, right? Now what exactly is PMLA, we will discuss in the next slide. So this so here we can see what exactly is PMLA. So it's a Prevention of Money Laundering Act, right? So this act has been introduced in 2012, and the act prevents money laundering uh, and it also provides the confiscation of property derived from or involved in money laundering act, right? So in a simple way, money laundering is like to make the to use all the money which has been earned from all the illegal ways, right? So illegal ways can be anything like trafficking drugs or anything else, like the other ways of like theft and robbery or anything the cyber crimes. And also all the money which has been earned from all these negative resources will be returned back to the native country through some ways of illegal routes, right? So in that way they are doing some crimes and they are making their money white, so that they won't be able to trace and use that money again for all the bad process, right? So that's why to stop that issue, this law is there, right? So this law prevents all these issues, and that's why it is important to have like it is the functioning of all this ED is important, right? So if whoever is the person who is acting like smart, they'll be punished by this ED in a longer term, right? So that is all the news about it, like the working of the ED in last couple of years has been increased 2.5 times, right? So yes, that is it for now. See you in the next video, right? So yes, thank you.